power to take control of your own health. Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're going to talk today about ways to reduce your risk of dementia. We did part 1 last week. We're going to do part 2 this week. So the way this works is I'm going to talk for 20 minutes. Any platform you're on, type in any health question you have. John, my producer, will read me the questions at the end of 24 minutes, I'm sorry. Then I will go ahead and do another 24 minutes, and I'll answer you more questions. So this is an amazing opportunity that you're not going to get anywhere else to ask me your health questions and hopefully get an answer for you. So I am ready to start whenever you are, John. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. We're going to talk today about ways to reduce your dementia risk, part 2. Last week we did it, and I had so much to talk about, I wasn't even close to covering. I had 29 topics I wanted to cover last week. I covered 5. So we're going to try to get as much as we can done today. If you want a copy of today's show notes, which you should do, just go to my website, drjoe.com, and send me a request, an email. There's contact us. However it says contact me, there's 3 different ways. Just say dementia risks. I'll send you a copy of today's show notes, absolutely free. So let's jump in. We got a lot to cover today. One of the things we have to think about, and this is something especially for older people, is mercury toxicity. Now you're thinking, mercury toxicity? Where would somebody old get mercury toxicity? How about your fillings? For years, dentists used mercury because it was so strong to put in fillings. I had mercury fillings. And we realized that these mercury fillings, all fillings are going to crack eventually. All fillings are going to wear out, including the mercury. And so the mercury fillings were releasing mercury into the body, and that's a heavy metal. And when heavy metals get into the body, they simply put, short circuit your nervous system. That's a real simplistic way of doing it. So we have to think about this because heavy metals cause damage to the neurons and impair cognitive function. You may have remembered a little a children's story, Alice in Wonderland. And in Alice in Wonderland, there was the Mad Hatter. And he was crazy. Well, there's some truth to that. Because in the old days, people that made hats would use mercury to make the hat stand up and be firm. And so they inhaled a lot of mercury, so hatters, as they were called, oftentimes went mad. And the reason was mercury toxicity. So if it works in Alice in Wonderland, guess what? It's going to work for you too. So if you have heavy metal mercury fillings, it's a good idea to try to get them removed. Now, you don't want to go to a regular dentist. Regular dentists are just going to, and hopefully some of them are now, hipper and know what to do. But a lot of times dentists will just drill it out. Well, if you drill out the mercury, it's going to release all this mercury vapor into your body and also affect the dentists. It's one of the reasons dentists have, if not the highest rate of suicide, one of the highest rates of suicide among all professionals. And we believe, theorized, no proof of this, that it could be due to mercury toxicity. So get the the mercury fillings out of your teeth, but you got to go to what's called a biological dentist. If you don't know what that is, you could look it up or send me an email. I'll send you a list of the biological dentists I refer to. I have no association with them whatsoever. It's strictly me giving you some good leads there. Another place we're going to get mercury is fish. And nobody's asked me this question before, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Where does the mercury come from for the fish to absorb it into their fat cells? Well, Asian countries will burn coal, many times with unlimited, guidelines. The smoke rises, goes over the ocean, and when it settles into water, it gets into the small microorganisms, and it works its way up the food chain. So I don't know if you could even find a fish anymore that doesn't have mercury toxicity. I know they did a study in Australia, and they tested all fish across lakes all across Australia, and they couldn't find one fish that didn't have heavy metal toxicity. Now, Australia is wild outback. And these guys even have mercury. So I'm not a fan of eating fish. If you do eat fish, I'm going to recommend you eat small fish. Sardines, anchovies. Smaller fish haven't been alive that long, and so they're less likely to build up mercury toxicity in their body. Not a fan of fish. If you're going to eat fish, wild caught only. Do not eat farm-raised fish. And I wouldn't really trust any freshwater fish, especially in the contiguous 48 states, because of toxicity. That's a sad statement. I hate to say that, but it just is what it is. Aluminum's another thing. It's a heavy metal that can get into the body. Now, how do you know if you have mercury or aluminum or cadmium or heavy metal toxicity? We can do a hair analysis, and we do this with our patients a lot. We just take a little bit of hair from anywhere in the body, and we can send it off to a lab, and they can test to see if there's heavy metal toxicity in the hair. Now, I did a hair analysis a while ago, and I didn't have mercury or lead or cadmium. I was a selenium deficient. Now, that's a nutrient. And as soon as I started getting my selenium levels up, my gray hair went away. Now, I don't know if that did it, but it was pretty direct correlation. Selenium deficient, started taking it, gray hair went away. I don't know if that's your problem. That's why we really need to do a hair analysis on you to determine if that's the case or not. So you can take selenium, but make sure you take recommended doses. Too much selenium can be toxic. And that's what we're talking about, toxic chemicals in the body. How do we get rid of it? That's a tough question because the heavy metals get into the cells and it's really tough to get rid of. One way is something called glutathione. It's a supplement I take every day. You should too. And glutathione helps detoxify the liver. So glutathione supplement, part of what we call my supplement stack, you probably should be doing it too. Because especially as you get older, the liver just doesn't work like it used to. And so you got to kind of give it a boost. And glutathione's great for that. Saunas are great for this. Sweating. If you don't have a sauna, go outside in the summer and sweat. That's a good way to get rid of heavy metal toxicity as well. So just sweating will help get rid of those metals. And then a high-fiber diet, which I recommend anyway, because the fiber pushes everything through the colon. And if the heavy metals somehow work their way into your colon, we don't want to get them reabsorbed. So a high-fiber diet is great for so many different things, including heavy metal toxicity. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about ways to reduce dementia risk. Don't wait. This is a problem. It's a problem. It's human nature, but it's not a good thing. We have back pain. We have neck pain. We have shoulder pain. We have starting to get lost in memory. Oh, we had that senior moment. I forgot things. It's no big deal individually, but when you start to see it come together on a regular basis, I'm really forgetting people's names. I'm forgetting dates. I'm forgetting who people are. The damage may already have occurred. Now, it's never too late to try something, especially these safe methods I'm talking about, but you don't want to wait too long. So eat a high-fiber diet, get the hair analysis done, see if you have heavy metal toxicity. If you do, let's go through a protocol together to detoxify those heavy metals. If you have mercury fillings, go to a biological dentist, have them replaced. I promise you they're leaking mercury into your body. And it's a shame. It was a good idea way back when. It's hard, it's solid, it's better than the stuff we had to make fillings with. And I always say it's a good idea until it's not a good idea. And now it's not a good idea. So let's get that mercury out of the system and really limit your fish. And if you're going to eat fish, do not under any circumstances, I hate to say this, you're going to get mad at me, eating shellfish, bottom dwellers, catfish, flounder, fluke. These are fish that live on the bottom, and all the heavy metals and toxins settle to the bottom, and they'll eat it. Clams, crabs, oysters, lobsters. I know you don't want to hear it, but even the Bible, when Moses wrote Leviticus a long time ago, he said, don't eat shellfish. The fish have to have scales and fins and swim. So eels don't count. Shark don't count because they don't have scales. So even Moses understood there are certain fish that are better than others, and certain fish you should always avoid. And the shellfish, as much as you like them, I get it. Don't shoot the messenger. You're just eating heavy metals, waste products, toxicity, polyvinyl chlorides, petroleum byproducts. Not a good idea. They're filters. Get them out of your life. I hate to say it to you, but you need to. Another thing we need to monitor when it comes to dementia risk is your iron levels. You've heard me talk about this before if you listen to my podcasts and shows regularly, but too much iron in the blood is worse than not enough iron. So be careful with your iron levels. Next time you get your iron checked, when you do blood work, check your iron levels. And your ferritin, your stored iron. That's what we're looking at, the stored iron, not just the iron floating around in the blood. If it's high, best thing you can do, very simple, stop taking iron supplements if you're taking them, but go donate blood. Especially for men and postmenopausal women, this becomes an issue because we don't have a way to get rid of blood. Women, during their pregnancy years can get rid of blood every month. We can't. And so monitor the ferritin. And if it's low, you want to take iron supplements. If it's high, you want to donate blood. It's quick, it's easy, it's cheap, it's free. Get some water at the end. I wouldn't drink it. It's in a plastic bottle for microplastics. Remember the show 2 weeks ago? So get those iron levels to a normal level. Not too high, not too low. We want everything in what we call the Goldilocks zone, right? Everything perfect, and that's going to be great. But excess iron creates what we call oxidative stress, and that could damage your brain tissues, and of course, that can affect your risk of dementia and other brain issues as well, Parkinson's. So heavy metals, iron, we got to get these things out of our lives, and it's hard because even gasoline, when you're burning a car, you're sitting in traffic, you're inhaling car exhaust, heavy metals in that. So it's everywhere, but you just got to take those cautions because I don't want you getting these problems. Not everybody's going to get it who has mercury in their body. They even used to put mercury in vaccines. I heard recently they finally took it out of most vaccines too. Got to get that heavy metal out of the system. So let's talk about some proactive steps. Kind of giving negative stuff. Let's talk about some positive steps. Eat blueberries. Eat all berries, actually. Berries are high in something called antioxidants. Free radicals attack your body. It's like Pac-Man. They eat through your body. Antioxidants neutralize the free radicals. So we want to keep those antioxidant levels high for so many different reasons. Reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, slows down the aging process, and it can affect the brain as well in a positive way. Now, if you're going to eat berries, I'm going to recommend organic only. Because berries, especially things like strawberries, blackberries, they have little dents in them, those little dimples, and pesticides can live in there. So organic berries are really going to be the best way to go. And they can be expensive. I was in a store the other day, $5 for a little thing of organic raspberries. But get frozen. Frozen berries are way less expensive because a lot of the cost in the berry is not the berry, it's the shipping and the packaging and the waste that goes with it because berries go bad pretty quickly. So get some frozen berries. You get an antioxidant mix, organic berry mix. And what I do is I mix it with my Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and I have that first thing in the morning. So my shake in the morning, first thing, Super Greens and Essential Source, which, by the way, if you're not doing, you should be. It's the minimum supplements you should be taking every day. They're on our website, drjoe.com. Then I add vitamin D3. I did about 10 drops of Dr. Joe's D3 with K2. And then I'll if I don't feel like making a shake, I'll just shake it up with some coconut milk or almond milk and drink it. But most days I'll add some frozen berries, maybe a quarter of a frozen banana, put it in this little, I don't know what it is, a magic bullet or something, grind it up, and drink that first thing in the morning. And once you start giving your body the nutrients that it needs, you start craving the nutrients. And you stop craving the artificial sweeteners, the sodas, the stimulants. You start craving the good stuff. But it takes usually a few weeks to transition from the junk diet to the good diet. But I wake up in the morning, and sometimes I go to bed at night, and I say, I can't wait for tomorrow when I can have my Dr. Joe Super Greens and Essential Source and my vitamin D3 and my berries and my banana. And I look forward to it. Because not only is it a tasty treat, your body needs this stuff. Essential Source is prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamin. I don't know anything on the market as good as Essential Source when it comes to supplements. Super Greens, chlorella and spirulina, detoxify the liver, micronutrients, alkalizes the system. That's why I take a scoop of each together. And we have different flavors too. The plain Super Greens taste a little earthy. I'm not going to lie to you. But we have a berry flavor. That's the one I use. Take it. Try it. Do it for a month. It's way cheaper than coffee. Super Green Essential Source Vitamin D. And I would add a B complex to that too. You could take that as a pill or open it up and mix it in. I don't care. That's the minimum supplements I would recommend. But then I take nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is something that helps with brain function. Because as we get older, our circulation just isn't what it used to be. Your hands get cold, your feet get cold, you get swelling in your legs, varicose veins. Anybody out there, aside from everyone having these problems? Nitric oxide support opens up the blood vessels and increases circulation to the brain. I take nitric oxide support every day. My blood pressure is fine. It lowers your blood pressure too. My blood pressure is fine, but I take it for brain function, for energy. And when I say libido, not just sexual libido, but the desire to do things in life. So nitric oxides, I don't know why it's not just given out as candy. Now, if you have low blood pressure, be careful. Send me an email. I'll tell you how to take it if you have low blood pressure. But normal or high blood pressure, nitric oxide support is like phenomenal. Love it. Magnesium is another thing the brain needs. Depending on a study you read, 50 to 80% of the people in this country are deficient in magnesium. And there's different types of magnesium. We have a magnesium malate that we use on our website, and that's good to help the muscles generate electricity and give you energy and strength and fortitude. I add a little tiny scoop of magnesium to it as well, to my shake, and then I'll add creatine. because creatine helps keep muscle mass. And as you get older, you're losing muscle mass. It's called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the muscles becoming waste. It's called muscle wasting. You lose about 1% of your muscle mass every year after 30. That stinks. But creatine can help that. And now the new research on creatine is that it can help the brain work as well. It helps with dementia. So creatine, magnesium, super green, essential source, vitamin D, magic bullet, frozen berries, maybe a quarter frozen banana, half a banana, whip it up. Once you start doing this, and then I take my 4 nitric oxide pills as well. I take men's hormone support because I'm getting older. I want my hormones to work. I take adrenal support, omega-3 fatty acids for brain function. Phenomenal things start to happen. I was out the other day with some friends of mine. We went out to dinner, and I've known these people probably 30 years, husband and wife team. Both chiropractors, brilliant people, loved them dearly, great people. And we were talking. I mentioned how old I was, and she looked at me and she said, "No way. I thought you were," and she said 15 years younger. She goes, "And I've known you for 20 years, but now that I think about it, yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?" So you can reclaim a lot of your youth. It's not going to go all the way, but you can reclaim a lot of your youth by having a normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. And part of that, big part of it, is going to be brain function. The way you act, the way you think. So if you have a health issue, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, concerned about your nervous system, make an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I want to find out what's going to be the best course of treatment for you. Anywhere else, the x-ray is going to cost you more than that. The nutrition evaluation is going to cost you more than that. The treatment is going to cost you more than that. We put it all together, and I made it so you can't have an excuse not to come in. It's so affordable. And we accept most insurances. Let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. When it comes to the brain, once it starts down, it's a slippery slope. It can get worse and worse. So start doing these action steps now to keep the brain healthy. And the cool part about this is the same advice I'm giving you for the brain also applies for your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your thyroid, your kidneys, your sex organs. It's the same advice. But we got to keep that body healthy if our goal is to go into our later years enjoying life. How many people do you know they finally retire and then die? That stinks. Talked to a friend of mine the other day. His father did that. Worked all his life, took care of his family, socked the money away, didn't enjoy his life. He died 3 months after he retired. So let's keep this body and brain going the best we possibly can. Other things we have to be careful about when it comes to dementia and other issues with the brain. If you're taking statin drugs lower the cholesterol in your blood. Brilliant. Works great. So what happens is in your liver, there's a pathway. This happens, this, and it becomes cholesterol. Statin drugs blocks that pathway so that the body doesn't make cholesterol. Works. However, the same pathway also produces something called coenzyme Q10, CoQ10. Now, CoQ10 is so important for not just brain function, but every cell in the body almost, because CoQ10 goes into what's called the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the part of the cell that generates electricity. It goes into the mitochondria and helps the mitochondria produce electricity. Some brain cells can have 1 million to 2 million mitochondria per cell. That's how important mitochondria are. And if you're taking statin drugs, you're reducing the body's production of CoQ10, which can affect the brain's function, the mitochondria generating electricity. If you're taking medications for Parkinson's disease, GI, it's called anticholinergic medications, psychiatric drugs, urinary incontinence, all of these can affect brain function. Who would have thought the urinary incontinence drug can contribute to my risk of dementia? The Parkinson's drugs, my dementia, my psychiatric disorders. So if you have to take these drugs, that's a separate lecture on things you might be able to do to reduce it. Now, I'm not saying don't take drugs. I'm saying let's get to the cause of the problem. So maybe, just maybe, you can avoid taking the drugs or reduce the amount of drugs you take. So if you're taking these anticholinergic drugs or statin drugs, talk to me, talk to your doctor and say, hey, is there anything else I can do proactively to reduce my risk so I don't have to take these drugs? Because it may help one thing, but it can affect the brain. That's what we're talking about today's brain function. And that's scary. It really scares me because the treatment can be worse than the disease. We may fix one thing and cause 10 others. Not against drugs. Let's just try to find a way to reduce or eliminate the need for them. That's the key right there. So I take a CoQ10 supplement. You should too. CoQ10, especially if you're on statin drugs or anticholinergic drugs, it should be the law. I don't know why it's just not. If you buy this, buy this. I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I was doing a show. I think it was on this topic, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it was on statin drugs. This is probably 20, 30 years ago when I was doing a lecture. And a friend of mine calls me up. He says, my girlfriend's a pharmacist, and she thinks you're an idiot. And I said, really? Why is that? She had never heard that statin drugs can reduce the body's ability to produce CoQ10. I said, I'm happy to talk to her or send her to research. So she looked it up. He gives me a call about 2 days later. He goes, my girlfriend wants to apologize. I said, why is that? I kind of almost forgot the conversation. She looked up this thing with CoQ10 and statin drugs and anticholinergic drugs, and she said she had never heard this before. And she was actually upset that she never learned this as a pharmacist. He said, and now every patient that comes in to get a prescription filled for statin drugs, she points him to the part of the pharmacy that has CoQ10 and says, go buy those supplements and take them with you. And I thought, that's cool. I like that. I appreciate her being honest and saying I was sorry. So we're talking today, if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about ways to reduce your risk of dementia. Sleep is a biggie. When you sleep, you flush out toxins in the body. Okay? And we found this new system. It's called the glymphatic system. And the glymphatic system, when you sleep, flushes waste products out of the brain and kind of cleans up house. And if you're not sleeping properly, the glymphatic system isn't working properly, so you can build up toxins and waste products like heavy metals in the brain, and it can alter the function of the brain. So we can do things like make the room dark, put down your screens. It's tough, isn't it? I put my phone across the room. I just got an email this week. It's funny you say that. Just got an email this week and said, Dr. Joe, some guy years ago told me to take your cell phone and put it across the other side of the room because of electromagnetic frequencies. Was that you? And I said, yeah, that was probably me. That sounds like something I would say. I've said it many times. So I put my phone across the room. It's probably, 15, 20 feet away from me when I sleep. And if the alarm goes off, then I have to get out of bed and shut off the alarm too, which is helpful too. But don't be scrolling till you fall asleep. One of my buddies says it all the time. He says, listen, man, I know I shouldn't do it. He says, and when I scroll, I don't get a good night's sleep. When I put the phone across the room like you tell me, I get a good night's sleep. So trust me on this one. It works. You could also take magnesium. We have Dr. Joe's Magnesium Vitality, and it's a product that I take every day. We talked about that earlier. And most of us are deficient in magnesium. Magnesium does over 350 functions in the body. And we use magnesium malate, which helps generate electricity and get the cells working properly. 3 and 8, magnesium 3 and 8, good from the neck up. Magnesium citrate, get your bowels moving. So there's different types, I think there's 7 types or 8 types of magnesium. So you got to be understanding of what they do. But the magnesium that we use is kind of a more general one. And that's why I like to do it. I take it every day. And you should too. It does a lot of different things. So we're talking today about how to reduce your risk of dementia. Intermittent fasting, you've heard me talk about this time and time again. At least 12 hours a day. Please. If you have dinner at 5 o'clock at night, don't have breakfast till 5 o'clock in the morning. No snacks. You're done. Stop eating. Give your body a chance to rest and clean itself out. Now, if you can go a few extra hours after 12 hours, extra bonus time. So, like if I have lunch at 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe dinner, I can then wait till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I've given myself a good break. I got to go to a break. I didn't realize this. If you have any questions, send it to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Any health question, 24 hours a day, I will answer you personally. If you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. And the supplements, Super Greens, Essential Source, Magnesium, again, at least Super Green Essential Source, Vitamin D and B complex. But magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids for brain function, men's hormone support, nitric oxide, they're all on the website in the store section, drjoe.com. If you have any questions, what to take, what not to take, my advice, I'm happy to share my opinion with you. I don't know if I'm right, but I usually am. But let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. Follow me on social media. Dr. Joe Esposito, Facebook, the Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. Health tips, absolutely free, just for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right. I could do 5 shows, I think, with the notes I have today. So much to cover. You have questions for me?
Is heavy metal testing part of the normal blood panel tests that doctors run?
No. Just that simple. No. Hair analysis is what I like to do, but they won't test it. Because a lot of times the heavy metals are stuck in the cells. They won't even show up in the blood. So you want to do like a hair analysis. So that's a better choice. What else?
I purchased your magnesium. When is the best time to take it, in the morning or night?
I like to take it in the morning to get the day going. Now, if you have trouble sleeping, you take it at night and it'll help you sleep. So try taking it either way and see how you do. Yeah, see what works best for you. Either way is fine.
I am on medication to lower my blood pressure. Can I take nitric oxide along with my medication?
Absolutely. Yes. But monitor your blood pressure. Because if the blood pressure goes too low, which it happens sometimes, you then have to make a decision. And you really need to go talk to your primary doctor who's prescribed it to you and say, hey, Dr. Such and Such, I'm taking nitric oxide. I listened to Dr. Joe's show on blood pressure. If you don't have it, send me an email. I'll send you a copy of one of my shows on blood pressure. And my blood pressure is going down. Can I reduce my medication? A good doctor is going to say yes. If the doctor says no, go find another doctor. We want to have doctors that are thinking outside the box and saying, how do I get you off the medication, not how do I give you more? So the answer is yes, absolutely, but just monitor your blood pressure. What else?
What are your thoughts on the AG1 supplement?
AG1. Oh, it's almost as good as Dr. Joe's Essential Source, but not quite, and it's about 3 times the price. So why wouldn't you take Dr. Joe's? There's your answer. So it's an okay product. I have nothing wrong with it, but I think ours is better and cheaper. What else?
What brand of creatine should I take?
Dr. Joe's. It's on the website, drjoe.com. It's the one I take every day. It's creatine monohydrate. It's the one I like the best, so do it. What else?
That is all.
All right, thanks, guys. We're ready for part 2 now. Take a little tea. All right. Where was I? Nah, I got so much cover, it doesn't matter. All right, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. If you just joined me, welcome. If you stayed with me, thank you. I appreciate that. We're talking today about ways to lower your risk of dementia. Now, before I get into that, we're talking, dementia is usually something we think about old people. I saw this article, and I want to bring this up for you. Hospitals called out for unnecessary back surgeries on seniors. Analysis turned up 200,000 unneeded procedures that cost Medicare almost $2 billion over 3 years. And they did an analysis, and they determined, and again, I don't know exactly what protocols they used. It wasn't in the article. It's called MedPage Today. And they said that they're not calling it out to squeal on anybody. They're calling it out to basically say, maybe you should consider alternatives before surgery. And I love that article. For $2 billion. And then insurance won't cover your simple prescription, right? Or your simple chiropractic care. It's stupid. So chiropractic care, most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. Why don't you do it? I can go on and on, but that's it. That's a mic drop right there. Most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. Doesn't help everyone, but it helps a major majority of people. I have companies coming to me. I have workers' comp companies coming to me saying, Dr. Joe, how do we reduce our costs? And I say, very simple. Get the nervous system working, get the digestive system working, and get their diet straightened out. Bob, John, Tom, Barbara, they can't have surgery because they have high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, smoking. I've put together working modules, a class actually. And you take the class, it's an interactive class, and I recommend supplements. And let's find out if we can get the blood pressure down to normal. Let's see if we can get some of that weight off you. I have a lot of surgeons send me patients saying, Joe, I can't operate on this patient. They're too sick. Can you get them well enough so I can do surgery on them? They're too sick to get better. Isn't that funny? So when I see studies like this, $2 billion in unnecessary surgeries, I think the protocol should be chiropractic first and nutrition, drugs second, surgery last. Unfortunately, we do it the other way around. Let's do the surgery. If it doesn't work, then we put you on medication to cover up the pain, and then eventually you end up in my office and saying, oh my God, I've had surgery, I've taken the drugs, nothing's worked. A lot of times, a lot of damage is done at that point. So let's do it the other way around. Chiropractic first, drug second, surgery last, and you're going to save a ton of money, probably add a bunch of years to your life, on average, and you're going to feel better. You get better results in most cases. So if you want to come see us, I think you should. So we're talking today about ways to reduce the risk of dementia. And exercise is important. When you move, Now, I'm not saying go to the gym and pound, 500-pound deadlifts. You create some just by moving. Right now, I'm standing up talking to you. This alone is causing my brain to produce something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. And BDNF helps your brain grow new cells. Now, years ago, if you could find some of my old lectures from 40 years ago, I'm sure they exist somewhere, I said once a brain cell is dead, it's dead forever. And I have to retract that statement. I was wrong. At the time, that's what we believed, but we find out now your brain regenerates new cells every minute of every day. So let's do everything we can to get the brain to regenerate. Supplements, activity, listening to this podcast, listening to this radio show is amazing because you're learning new things. And when you learn new things, the brain starts to rewire itself. So the brain needs oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. And stimulation, just listening to this is stimulation. If you go to my podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It, we post at least 2 podcasts a week, sometimes more. So go to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and listen to it at least twice a week. And this is going to put new information in your brain. It's going to repeat some stuff, so that's how you remember things, is by repetition, and that's going to help the brain slow down and many times reverse a lot of its damage. Then we do things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, magnesium, creatine, digestive enzymes. I take a digestive enzyme whenever I eat a cooked meal to help break down my food so it can go feed my brain. So exercise is so important for brain-derived neurotrophic factor to grow new brain cells. And when I say exercise, just get up and move. Now, some of you might say, well, I go to the gym every day, every other day, whatever it is, but then I sit all day. Well, you can't sit all day and expect to work for a half hour, an hour, and reverse the damage. It's good you're doing it, but you got to get up and move periodically. Walk up and down. Go to the bathroom in the farthest end of your office building. Park far away and walk. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. These little things throughout the day help produce the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So there's a lot of, we're talking about proactive steps you can take to help reduce the risk of dementia. Action is one of them, just moving. Omega-3 fatty acids, I kind of brushed on that earlier. Omega-3 fatty acids are what we call essential fatty acids. They're essential for brain function. They're essential for brain health. And most of us don't get enough. In a perfect world, you get 1 molecule of omega-3 to 1 molecule of omega-6, which is also essential. Most of us get 10 omega-6s, 20, 30 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. That's when it becomes toxic. What's the difference between a nutrient and a poison? Dosage. So we're going to get the omega-3 fatty acids. Where do we get it from? What's one place you think of? Real quick, what's your first thought? Fish oil, right? Well, Dr. Joe, I take fish oil every day, and fish oil is high in omega-3 fatty acids. I don't like fish oil. Let me tell you why. Number one, it goes rancid pretty quickly. Number two, we talked about fish earlier, if you remember. Fish oftentimes have mercury in them or heavy metals. And so if you're going to take a fish oil, they have to extract out the mercury or the heavy metals. Why do that when there's something that is just as good that doesn't have the heavy metals in it, actually better? So fish oil goes rancid, heavy metal toxicity, and it has to attach to a phospholipid group. It has to be in a phospholipid form. Don't worry about the chemistry. Fish has to be converted into the phospholipid form, fish oil. Krill oil is already in the phospholipid form. So krill oil is a better choice, and it doesn't go as rancid. And it has very low risk of mercury toxicity. So of the two, fish or krill is a better choice. What's a better choice than krill? Algae oil. Krill and fish don't produce omega-3 fatty acids. They get it from eating algae. Algae make the omega-3 fatty acids. So why not take the source, the algae oil, no risk of contamination, not nearly the risk of rancidity as fish oil, and it's already in a phospholipid form. I take algae oil every day. I take 2 Dr. Joe's algae oils every day. It's worth it. Now, every now and then somebody will say, well, Dr. Joe, that's a little expensive. If I'm going to buy supplements, that's expensive. No. You're going to save so much money because you're eating right now. You're taking care of yourself. You have more energy. Hopefully you're getting your spine checked for chiropractic evaluations. You may have acid reflux. We can pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, help with acid reflux. I'm going to get to that in a second, how that affects the brain. And now you've adopted this healthy lifestyle. You're going to save so much money. I had a patient come in the other day. I think I might have told this story. And he came in, and he said, I'm going to do everything you say for 60 days. And in 60 days, we're going to sit down. I'm going to tell you if you were right or not. I said, I take the challenge. Bring it on. 60 days later, was just a couple of weeks ago. I sit down in a room with him. He goes, okay, I've done everything you said for 60 days. Let's talk. I said, okay. He said, I have more energy than I've ever had. I'm sleeping better. My love life's improved. My pain is almost down to zero. He says, I'm eating the way you tell me to. I'm saving about half the amount of money I was spending on food and groceries. That money I'm saving pays for my supplements, my chiropractic care. He says, and I still have money left over. He said, I'm making money being a patient here. I said, good. I want this to be a profit center for you. But when you're healthy, you spend so much less money. I bring lunch every day. And I look at people complaining about money. Price of food is going up. I can't afford to go to grocery store. Everything is so expensive. I get it. The simplest, easiest way to save money is bring your lunch every day. I make usually a big pot of soup or some lentils or something like that on a Sunday, and I'll eat it 3 or 4 days throughout the week. If I'm not going to get to it, I freeze it, and I'll eat it the next week. And there are many times my freezer has more food than I can handle because I make my own food and freeze it in glass, not plastic. We talked about that when I did the microplastic show. And it's wonderful. So I can make this big pot of a vegetable soup or a lentil soup or a dal, which is an Indian dish. It might cost me $10 to make the whole thing. And I can eat 4 meals on it. $2.50 a meal. It's a pretty good deal. No waste. I know it's good oils. No toxic chemicals. No microplastics. I don't have to drive to a restaurant, waste gas, waste time. I save time and money just by doing that. And I look at people ordering, having the food brought to them. Another $5 charge, plus a tip on top of that. Plus, you don't know what ingredients they're using. And that, I'm really concerned when it comes to mental health, this generation, the younger generation. It's not like the old man. These young kids, I am the old man, I guess. But these young kids are going to have a problem because their toxic load is exponentially higher than ours ever was. And we see people now in their 60s and 70s, a percentage of them are getting dementia. I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, but I believe that when this younger generation, the Gen Zs and the Gen Xs and the Gen Ys, they become old, you're going to see this explosion of dementia. And who's going to take care of them? Maybe AI is going to solve the problem for us. I don't know. Maybe we're going to have nurses come in and take care of our bathroom needs, robot nurses. But there's a song by the Moody Blues, and the line in the song is, and I'm frightened for your children. And I am. I'm frightened for your children because it's not good what I'm seeing. And the chemical load is getting higher and higher. Now, I'm very glad the government is finally stepping in, taking some toxic chemicals and dyes and additives out of food. So I'm seeing a positive trend. In fact, I was out the other night with a naturopath. And she said, I'm really seeing the change, the shift in society, that people are starting to get an awareness of their health. And I said, I know. I've been fighting this battle for 40 years. And hopefully we're going to get to what we call critical mass, where it just becomes common sense and everyday usage to take care of your body. I hope it's happening. And it is. It is happening. And I'm very excited for it. But I don't want it to be too late for you, because if the brain is damaged, sometimes it doesn't reverse. So take care of that brain. So the omega-3s, eat things like flaxseed, chia seeds, walnuts. Take Dr. Joe's omega-3 fatty acid. I take it every day. And you're going to find, even if I take like 10, 15 supplements a day, and even at that, if I'm not drinking coffee, if I'm not going out to restaurants for breakfast and lunch, I'm not ordering my food, I'm eating healthy foods, I'm staying young, I'm able to work a lot longer than most people my age, I'm going to save so much money in the long run. So whether it's health that motivates you, whether it's money that motivates you, well, Lita Adams had a song, was it 35 years ago maybe? I don't care how you get here, just get here if you can. And that's exactly it. I don't care what motivates you to get well. Do it. The end is going to be the same. You'll live longer. You have more money. If you're healthy, you have kids have to change your diapers. It's not a bad gig being healthy. Let me tell you. I like it. Other things we can do as we talk about the brain function and dementia is you got to have a social connection. You have to have a circle of friends. Now, some people are more introverted, and that's okay. Maybe 1 or 2 friends, maybe some family members. But there are times My friends and I talk about this, and we're not old, really. I mean, I joke about being old. We're far from being, that generation of dementia risks, that we have to go out and do something. I don't want to, but I have to, because it's so important to socialize. It's so important to get out of the house, talk to other people, be around other people. Now, if you're an introvert, that's okay. Find a small group that you trust. You don't have friends, I don't know who to hang out with, join a group. There's hiking groups. There's the Italian Society here in Georgia. I know I was a member of that for a long time. There's lectures. Maybe you're a vegetarian. You go to a vegetarian group. You're a hiker. You're a single. Maybe you go to a church. Church is great for fellowship. So many different ways you can get out, but you have to take the proactive step. My mother, you hear me talk about her a lot. I miss her dearly. She said toward the end of her life, she goes, I wish I'd stayed in contact with my friends. Because she outlived my father by many years. And she said, I wish I stayed in contact with my friends. And she would say, I'm not good on the phone. I said, okay, well, just call them up and meet them. And then later on, she became homebound, unfortunately. And there were a lot of things I wish she had done. And toward the end of her life, I remember talking to her. And she got real serious with me one time. And she said, I wish I'd listened to you. You were right. Nothing is more powerful than having my mother say that to me. I wish I'd listened to you. You were right. So I don't want you to be of the generation that has a regret, that says, God, I wish I'd done something sooner. I wish I'd taken care of myself. So if you have a health issue, come see us. It's a social event, if nothing else. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge, Atlanta area, or we can do remote consultations. drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Book an appointment. Normally the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on a follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Let's see what's going on with your body. And we charge $299 because I want you to have a dog in the fight. I want you to be invested in your health care. We accept most insurances, car accidents, sports injuries, Medicare, VA. I'm on the VA referral list. If the VA refers you to us, they'll pay the bills. But I want to find out what's wrong and what's going to be the best course of treatment for you. Stop suffering needlessly. Don't be like my mom. You were right. I wish I'd listened to you sooner. Don't be like so many of my patients every day. And patients joke, Doc, I've heard you say this 40 years ago. I shouldn't have waited. You were right. Why didn't I do this sooner? And I don't know why you didn't do it sooner. You have the opportunity right now, drjoe.com, make an appointment. Let's find out what's going on. Stop suffering needlessly. It breaks my heart when patients come in. I had a patient come in the other day. She said, remember me? I said, nope. I came here 35 years ago. I've been in the same office for 40 years. She said, I came here 35 years ago and you said something to me. You said, this is the problem and this is what's going to happen if she didn't follow my advice. And she said, that played in my head for 35 years. And finally I got back in here. She moved away. She came back. And she said, everything you said came true. And I wish it didn't. She had arthritis. She had knee pain. She had digestive issues. She had aging issues. Dr. Joe, you talked about this 35 years ago. And you told me all the steps I needed to take, and I didn't do it. And I wish I had. So don't be like her. Just make an appointment, drjoe.com. Bring your kids, too. Because we can get kids started out healthy. It's a wonderful life for them. And if you have any health questions, send it to my website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer your health questions. I answer them personally. So drjoe.com, send me your questions. Make an appointment. We have over 4,000 hours of content on the website, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media. We post every single day. Dr. Joe Esposito, Facebook, The Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. Subscribe to my podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Subscribe. You'll get a notification twice a week when I put out a podcast. It's free. If you want to see my face, the podcast is just audio. Go to our YouTube channel. We put all the podcasts with the video on a YouTube channel. Let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems. Let's use technology to our benefit. We have that opportunity right now. Why are we not doing it? So we're talking today about ways to reduce your risk of dementia. We talked a little bit about chiropractic care, but chiropractic care opens up the nerve and blood supply to the whole body. It loosens up the joints so they don't wear out as fast. I had somebody come in. She works for a big insurance company. And we were talking, and she brought her husband in to come see us. And she called me up afterwards, and she said, that was amazing. Dr. Amy Hall and Dr. Chris Holmes treated her down at Stockbridge office. And said, my husband had neck pain, back pain. His neck hurt all the time. His neck would pop. She goes, couldn't even move very well. She said, 2 visits. I mean, I'm telling him to slow down. You're going to hurt your back. So I ran into this guy the other day. I went to an event and he was there. And he shook my hand. He said, Dr. Joe, I'm amazed how good I feel. And he said what everybody says, why didn't I do this sooner? And she said, I want you to start talking to the insurance adjusters, because we, the insurance adjusters, have this vision of the stuff you see on the internet, the racking, the cracking, the popping. That's all crap. It's not real. That's not how it goes. I watch these adjustments and pull somebody's neck, pop, 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 pop. I've treated people for 40 years. I've never had that happen to a patient. It's overdubbed. They put the sound in the background when they do it. It's not how it is. Chiropractic is very gentle, very soft, realigning the muscles, the bones, the organs, the stomach, getting a nutrition protocol put together. That's real chiropractic care. The stuff you see on the internet is fake. So come see us. Stop suffering. But chiropractic care is so important to keep the body healthy and mobile. Mobility is life. It's so important. I'm going to give a presentation in a couple of weeks to a group of doctors all across the world, actually, on traumatic brain injuries. And we're going to talk about the effects of mitochondria. And we're going to talk, a good portion of the talk is going to be on monosodium glutamate and aspartame. When you damage your brain, the brain releases glutamic acid, glutamate, releases glutamate into the body. Now, if you're taking extra glutamate from autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, natural flavors even, is monosodium glutamate. Chinese food, traditionally, you'll see it in. Monosodium glutamate is more glutamic acid. You overburden the brain with glutamic acid, and it hurts, and it causes swelling, and it damages the cells and the mitochondria. So reduce glutamic acid intake. My first book I ever wrote, Eating Right for the Health of It, we have a chapter on there. There's over 20 different names for monosodium glutamate. Autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, isolates, soy protein isolate. All this is glutamic acid, monosodium glutamate. So avoid that, and then avoid artificial sweeteners. Aspartame. Aspartame, aspartic acid, is, again, excitotoxin to the brain. And there have been studies that show that aspartic acid toxicity can be an issue with the brain. So especially if you're worried about dementia, if you've had a traumatic brain injury, most of us have, I have, cut out the glutamic acid and the aspartic acid, aspartame and monosodium glutamate. You got to drop it. Now, if you have to use a sweetener, how about stevia? I use stevia every day. Monk fruit, perfectly fine. You can do those, better choices. Even if you do raw honey, organic honey, it's better. It's better than the artificial sweeteners. And when it comes to brain function, that's really important. And it kills me when I go into like senior housing and I see, what are they having? They're having a party and they're going to have barbecue potato chips. And they have cakes with hydrogenated oils and high fructose corn syrup and enriched wheat, which has folic acid in it, which can be toxic to the body. You need folate. And then they're having artificial sweetener in their coffee, which has been sprayed with pesticides. And then these people are suffering. But it's a party. They're under care of a senior housing facility. They know what they're talking about. I'm sure they wouldn't poison me. They're poisoning you because they don't understand that they're poisoning you. Somebody famous once said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that's exactly it. I don't believe most doctors are doing things on purpose to harm somebody. The study we talked about earlier, $2 billion on unnecessary surgeries. I bet you if I talk to every one of those doctors, they say it was necessary. And I would say to them, have you tried the alternatives first? Chiropractic care, physical therapy, injections, prolotherapy, acoustic wave therapy, PRP, exosomes. I can promise you that 95% of them would say, no, we never did any of that. Let's try that first. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it works. The artificial sweeteners, just throw them away. They're ant poison, by the way. You can use them as ant poison if you want to. Aspartame is anyway. But use the stevia instead. I love stevia. After a few days of using stevia, you won't be able to go back to anything, like even things with sugar in it. It's going to be way too sweet. And I have people tell me this all the time. I switched to stevia soda. In fact, a guy I work with, I won't say his name, but a guy I work with, he was drinking sodas every day. And then he was doing diet sodas. He wanted to lose weight. That's even worse. So his wife twisted his arm a little bit and said, let's try some stevia cola. Cola sweetened with stevia. And she said the first 2 or 3 days he wasn't thrilled, but now, she said, we were traveling, and he wanted to get a soda, so he got a cola. and he drank it. He said he took one sip. He goes, I can't drink this. It tastes horrible. So you can retrain your taste buds to eat healthier things. Herbs, things like ginkgo biloba, are very good for brain function. We have something, Dr. Joe's Chewable, and it has a nitric oxide in it, nitric oxide support to open you up, and it has ginseng. And ginseng is an herb that helps the brain work more efficiently. So I take ginseng and I take nitric oxide every day, and then if I have a lecture, if I have a talk or something, I'll take a double dose of Dr. Joe's Chewables with ginseng to help the brain work better. It's also an aphrodisiac with that, so be careful. I have a lot more to cover. I'm not even close to getting it done. If you want a copy of today's show notes, and you need it because I didn't cover a fraction of what I needed to, just go to drjoe.com, send me an email, and just put in dementia or dementia risk, and I will send you a copy of today's show notes absolutely free. My gift to you, no charge. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, either virtually or in person, drjoe.com, book your appointments. If you have any questions, health questions, send it to me through the website, drjoe.com. I get tens and tens of questions every day, so I know you're listening. The supplements, the Super Green, Central Source, nitric oxide, omega-3 fatty acids, the magnesium, the creatine, all on the website, drjoe.com. If you're not sure what to take, send me a question. I'll help you. So drjoe.com. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. We'll see you next time. All right. What do you got?
Is sleep apnea related to heart failure?
It can be, yes, absolutely. Sleep apnea oftentimes is due to the stomach pushing up against the diaphragm. And when the stomach pushes up against the diaphragm, it can prevent the diaphragm from moving properly. And when that happens, you're not sleeping properly, so you gasp for air. So a lot of patients with sleep apnea, when I pull their stomach away from their diaphragm, and it may take several treatments, we solve the sleep apnea, we solve the hiatal hernia, we solve the acid reflux, and now you're absorbing nutrients. I didn't even cover that with the brain today, making the brain work better. So let's see if that's the problem. Come see us. We'll figure it out.
Should I eat squash often?
Sure. Squash is fine. I got no problem with it. I'm not a big, it's not one of my favorite foods. I'll eat it if it's there, but other than that, I don't really need it. There we go. Okay. More questions?
Are green tomatoes as healthy as red tomatoes?
No.
Is there a natural way to improve prostate health?
Oh, absolutely. All us old guys are going to have prostate problems. Promise you. There's nobody I know of, even over 40, maybe some over 40, but most people over 40 are going to start to have some prostate problems. A couple of things. Number one, our muscles get weak. Number two, we're not using the prostate as much. I'll try to keep this clean. We have inflammatory diets, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, all in causing inflammatory reactions with the prostate. Caffeine can cause it as well. So, yeah. So if you send me an email through drjoe.com, I'll send you the men's health lecture that I gave, and then I'll send you the protocol that I recommend for myself as well as my patients. So I'm happy to do that for you. What else?
I don't care for coconut milk. Can I choose soy or almond?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Soy, make sure it's organic, but almond is fine. Coconut milk's fine. Oat milk is fine. They're all fine. Yeah.
Are any cookies on the market okay?
On the market, no. Now, you can go online and make raw cookies. Now, do they taste like Hydrox? No, they don't. They don't taste like Oreos. I'm sorry, they don't. But you can make cookies out of nuts and dried fruit and stuff like that. That would be a better choice. If you're going to use a flour, use either, well, I would say a gluten-free flour. That would be a better choice. You could use coconut flour. You could use almond flour. Those are fine. And here's what's going to happen. When you start changing your diet and you change your taste buds, those Oreo-type cookies are going to be too sweet for you. You're going to start making your own cookies, better choice. But on the market, as far as I know, I can't think of any commercial ones that I would ever recommend, no. So.
That is all.
Thanks, guys. As always, I appreciate you. Please follow me on all social media platforms. That's my request. I give you all this information for free. I need you to do something for me. So follow me on social media, and that's free too.